Oh, what y'all mean? Yeah, right. This is you. Is that you? Yeah. The picture. That's you? That's him. Okay.
All right, is everybody ready? All right, I'm going to ask everybody to stand up for me. We're going to do our ritual awakening. Ready? Here's how we start. Go ahead and stand on your tippy toes. Again. Up, down. That's good. All right, very good, very good. Now we're going to slowly jump. All right, get the energy going. Next, arms up. Repeat after me. Born a champion.
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 Give yourselves a round of applause. Good. I had to fake you into that. Normally it's too much of a shock to get up and do that. All right, welcome. Thanks for being here. It's great to see y'all. And how many of you have been to a workshop before? Raise your hand. Good job. All right, give yourselves a pat on the back. Keep your hand if you've been 3, 4, 5 workshops. 10 workshops, keep your hands up. 20 workshops, keep your hands up. 30 workshops, keep your hand up. 40 workshops, keep your hand up. All right. Good. Well, interesting question is, how is it possible for somebody to be at 40 or 50 or 100 workshops? We have to be doing this for quite a while. As we move into 2019, we're going into our 20th year of actually doing this. So we've been doing the Power Workshop since 1999. And we've got some people who have been here for the ride the whole way. Deborah is one of them. So there's no counting how many workshops that she's been to. I don't know, we lost track a while ago, but I'm really proud of you guys. I'm glad you all are here. And you'll see, once you come to a workshop, it's kind of like a Pringles potato chip. You know, you just can't have one. You just keep coming back for more. You're always going to learn something. It doesn't matter if the titles are the same. You could say, well, I've been to that one before, but no. That would be a horrible mistake to think that you got it all the first time. No way. Many people say it's kind of like drinking out of a fire hose. So there's going to be a lot tonight. And every time you come back to a workshop, you're going to grab something else. You're going to grab something else. And before you know it, your arsenal is going to be full of tools that's going to help you succeed with your health goals, whatever they are. Tonight, we happen to be talking about diabetes and blood sugar control. So when you get one of these workshop cards, it pretty much shows you every month what the workshop is going to be and what the title is. We're in the process of printing 2019 right now, but next month we have our Holiday Health and Stress Survival Workshop. Really, we're going to make a little bit of a different spin on it. So it's really going to be a patient appreciation holiday health workshop. So we're going to have some raffle prizes, we're going to have free gifts, we're going to have free food and smoothies and all kinds of nice stuff for you guys. Everybody's going to leave here with something, I promise you that. So please mark your calendar. It's going to be like nothing we've ever done before. We're going to have a stress management workshop, really, because the holidays are, they're the best of times, but, go to a hospital and you'll see they're the worst of times. There's more heart attacks and suicides and crazy stuff going on during the holidays more than ever. So we do need this workshop, although it'll be de-emphasized as far as how much time we spend. It's not going to be like an hour or 75-minute workshop. It'll probably be a little bit shorter, a little bit less. And as far as tonight goes, you're going to learn a lot of good stuff, but dial that in. And I also want to remind you, for every workshop that you come to, we keep a record of that. So when it comes to, finishing your chiropractic care or moving into maintenance, there are discounts that get applied to that. You can get up to 10% off of maintenance care. So if you didn't know that, you'll see a lot of people keep coming back to workshops because they enjoy that fringe benefits. Some of you guys are here because you want to save money on the supplements. Some of you guys just come to the workshops for that. You don't care what I have to say. I just want the discount on the supplements. I get it, yeah. It's the only time we discount the supplements. No, I'm just kidding. But tonight is going to be a life-changing event, I promise you that. So, let's talk about diabetes. As many of you in the room are struggling with that. It's It's part of the health profile. You're trying to overcome it, and I've been working with you, and many of you are doing very well with it. If you haven't been diagnosed with diabetes, there's a good body of statistics that show that you're really on your way to becoming diabetic. If you live in this country and you eat the standard American diet, it kind of just happens. It kind of just happens. And if you're not doing something proactively every day to prevent diabetes, I'm just going to say it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're on your way to getting it. And I'm not speaking that over you. I don't want that for you guys. So please forgive me for being rough around the edges. But I'm here to be the voice of truth and to help you at all costs avoid this devastating disease. People don't die from diabetes. You know what they die from? When you're diagnosed with diabetes, you either die of a heart attack from the medication, or you die of heart disease or cancer or blindness or amputations. There's all these things that develop out of diabetes. And so it's a horrible, horrible degenerative condition, which is insidious, which means that it starts growing inside you. You don't even know it. So this is what we have to keep our eyes out for. It's the fastest growing disease in the United States. Kids as young as 5 being treated with prescription drugs. Okay? 1 out of 3 kids will develop diabetes. The risk of death is doubled if you're diabetic. You're cutting your life expectancy significantly shorter. And I'll go over more of that also. But nearly half of adults either have diabetes or what? Pre-diabetic, on their way to becoming it. Half of all adults. Statistically, that's not encouraging. Turn to the person on your left, turn to the person on your right. Somebody's going to get diabetes or on their way to becoming it. So like we said, once you're in that category, your risk of heart attacks goes through the roof, your risk of cancer significantly increased. Talk about medications. Many of you guys are on medications, you don't want to be on it. Is it necessary to talk about this? Yes. This is not something that your doctor's going to talk to you about. They don't really talk about the contraindications, although everything that I'm going to talk to you about right now comes from peer-reviewed, published medical journals. Everybody's heard of metformin. Some of you guys may be taking metformin. You may have a loved one on this. If you're on metformin, if you have heart disease that runs in your family, is it a good idea to take this drug?
No.
No, statistically, this is what it shows. It doubles your chances of dying from heart problems. It's contraindicated. You should not be on this medication if heart disease runs in your family or you're at risk for heart disease. Rule number 1. So evaluate that. Also, you may have heard of some of these other medications. I had a patient who actually had a heart attack for one of these, Avandia. Many people have heard about this. It took them 8 years and 83,000 people to have a heart attack before they pulled it off the shelf. And it was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and they knew this was going on. But there was so much money involved that it took 8 years, and 83,000 people have heart attacks before they pulled it off. So this is, they published this even long before they pulled it off the market. They showed it caused 43% increased risk of heart attack and 64% greater likelihood that you're going to die from a heart attack if you took that medication versus other things. Januvia, that's another prize winner. And it just sounds so harmless, that name in and of itself. It's almost angelic, Januvia. How many of you have seen commercials for Januvia? If you're taking that, people who take that, they found in this study 6-fold increased risk of pancreatitis, and you're 3 times more likely to die from pancreatic cancer if you take Januvia. Again, my doubt is that the doctors are really talking to patients about this. It's the standard of care, and if they have a drug representative walking in their office, and there's a lot of incentives, like free trips to Hawaii or, different perks, whatever it is, what's the likelihood that you're going to get prescribed Januvia and Avandia, a brand name drug, over a generic? Highly likely, right? And then what happens? You significantly increase your risk of these statistics. So why do we have to go over this? Because it's not just you. You know people who are on these medications. And don't people deserve to know the truth? Yes. Yeah, and this is what's going on in our healthcare system today. That's why many of you have learned the number 1 cause of death today isn't heart disease or cancer, it's the treatment for these diseases. Properly prescribed medication, improperly prescribed medication, and hospital administrative blunders, which all this is part of. Insulin, again, very, very common. I would say a good half of the people that come in who are already diagnosed with diabetes are on this one. But my question is, are they aware that type 2 diabetics who take insulin injections die at twice the rate? Really? You're doubling your risk of death than those who get non-insulin treatment. Turn to your neighbor and say, wow. Did you know that? Did you know that? So how common is insulin? People are taking insulin injections like it's going out of style. They inject themselves, and it's like, does anybody give a second thought to really what's going on here? Do you think people like taking insulin injections? I don't think so. I don't, the thought of a needle going into my body, it's like, I don't know, that doesn't seem very inviting, does it? But people are doing it because, again, in their mind, it's like, it's life or death. I don't know what else to do. But you're going to learn very quickly, there is something else to do. Now, I want you to watch this because here's a medical doctor who's more wellness-minded, and he's going to talk to you about this crazy cycle that happens when you do take insulin, and how it perpetuates diabetes.
Hi, I'm Julian Whitaker, MD, with another Whitaker Wellness tip on diabetes type 2. I urge you to forward this to your friends and loved ones who have type 2 diabetes, especially those who are using insulin. Approximately 25% of the 28 million Americans with type 2 diabetes are told to take insulin. If they are obese or overweight, as most are, it's a clear sign that insulin injections are doing more harm than good. Insulin doesn't just escort glucose into the cells. It also signals fat storage and stops fat burning, a recipe for weight gain. Now, excess weight makes blood sugar control more difficult, and poor control increases insulin requirements. In other words, the more weight you gain, the more insulin you need, and the more insulin you take, the more weight you gain. It's a vicious cycle.
So, only one question to ask. Which is worse? The disease or the treatment? Clearly the treatment, right? You're taking insulin, your weight's going to go up, you're going to become more insulin resistant, and then you're going to need more insulin, and then you're going to gain more weight. And then, all the while you're doing this, you're shortening what? The years that God has given you on earth. But again, what else can we do? So, diseases for dummies. Why did I put that there? Diseases for dummies. Ooh, that's cruel. That's so insensitive. No, it wasn't me. I didn't make that up. That was, that was in a medical report, and they called these diseases for dummies, like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, because not because people are dumb. It's because they're completely treatable, reversible, and curable with proper what? With proper lifestyle. Yeah. And that means that you don't have to be dependent on medication for type 2 diabetes and be helpless the rest of your life. You can actually take control of your health. And this was published in the Archives of Internal Medicine. Here's what they found. They studied 23,000 people keeping 4 simple behaviors. Is this a small study? No, it's a pretty good sized study. And here's what they found. The 23,000 people ate a healthy diet, exercised 3.5 hours a week, they didn't smoke, and they maintained a healthy what? Healthy body weight. With a body mass index below 30. What do you think the outcome was? What do you think the outcome was with all that? Yeah, there's what they found. 93% of all diabetes, 81% of heart attacks, 50% of strokes, 36% of all cancers were prevented. Here's another study that I just found. Actually, my dad sent this to me. Recent study over the last 4 weeks. It just came out. Harvard study. 5 things that can prolong your life by a decade. I'm always afraid to ask this question, but how many of you guys would like to extend your life by a decade? I should get a pretty good response here. You'd be surprised. Some people are like, that's it, I can't bear another day. 34 years of data. Listen, this is a long study. 34 years of data for the women and 27 years worth of data for the men. 78,000 women, 44,000 men. Harvard researchers estimated that the women who adopted the 5 habits would see 14 more years of life, and men would see 12 extra by doing this. Eating a healthy what? Exercising 30 minutes or more a day. Don't drink too much alcohol. Don't smoke when? Ever. And maintain a healthy what? Yeah. Yeah, a BMI between 18.5 and 24.9 is safe, which doesn't put you at risk for heart disease, cancer, or diabetes. If it goes over that, then it's a pretty good predictor that it's going to happen, sooner than later. So, what is this showing us, guys? What is this telling us, all these things that you just saw? Are you learning? Are you learning anything new? For some people, it's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. For some people, it's like, well, I kind of knew that, right? But we know that, but the real question is, are we doing it? Are we applying it? So I'm going to speak to the person who has diabetes right now. If you have diabetes and you see this right now, and you know that 93% of it is reversible, treatable, and curable, then the question would be, why are you not doing it? Well, I would have to answer that by just simply saying habits. Because good habits are just as hard to break as bad ones. Like if you're in the habit of exercising every day and your body's going to stabilize insulin, I guarantee you it's going to be hard to break that habit. And it's going to be hard for you to become diabetic again once you reverse it. If you have the habit of preparing your meals and making good choices when you go to the grocery store, or making good choices when you're hungry instead of sabotaging your blood sugar, stabilizing it, that's a good habit. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. And again, when you have good habits, that puts you on autopilot for success with your health in your life. And that's all it is. It's not like making radical changes. It's a lateral shift. It's like, instead of eating this, I'm going to eat that, right? Instead of doing this, I'm going to do that. Instead of laying in bed for 20 minutes, I'm going to get up early and hit the sidewalk. How many of you guys pay taxes here? Do we all pay taxes? Don't you own a piece of that sidewalk? It's yours. Yeah, you should use it if you own it. You should use it. You should feel like you're wasting money if you don't get out there and shake your tail feather. Get out there and go for a brisk walk. You should see what that does for your blood sugar, guys. It does amazing things. If you did nothing else, there was a study that also just came out with this not too long ago, and it said overweight people who exercise outlive thin people who don't. And they found that thin people who don't exercise die faster than people who smoke. Did you get that? Not exercising is more deadly than smoking. Living a sedentary lifestyle will get you into a coffin faster than if you smoke. That's what studies are just showing right now. They were shaking, the doctors couldn't believe what the outcomes were showing. Okay? At the very least, imagine you just set your alarm clock. Imagine you just dial it into your phone and it wakes you up every day, just a few minutes early. Just imagine how good you would feel. Oh, I need my sleep. I got news for you. Because the days that you sleep less and you exercise, do you think you have less energy or more energy? More energy. So the obstacles that short circuit our success are smoke and mirrors. It's a belief system that we buy into that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. There's always a solution. There's always a solution. You just have to draw a line in the sand. And when your health and your energy and your life, what you want, it means more to you than, I guess, just, the short-term, quick fix of biting into a piece of cake or a cookie, right? How fleeting is that? It tastes good for a minute. It's no different than having a hit of cocaine or heroin. The same part of the brain lights up as we do when we have sugar. And when that all wears off and dies down, where are you? Right back where you were. But contrast that with the life of a champion. What do? You want to win your day? Raise your hand if you want every day to be an awesome day. If you want to win your day, you win your morning. If you want to win your day, you win your morning. That's right. You give your first fruits to the Lord. You wake up, you pray, you read the Word, and then you take this body, a living sacrifice. Not your body. Body that you're sitting in right now? Not your body. Sorry. What right do we have to defile it or not be good stewards with it? That's the mindset. That's the mindset. We do what we're supposed to do, not what we want to do. We teach our kids that. But do we do that? Ooh. I already apologize for being rough around the edges. But I honestly, I'm trying to be encouraging. No, it's not easy for everybody. I get it. Everybody's different, how they think, how they do things, and whatever. But at the end of the day, use whatever Jedi mind trick that works for you. Okay? All we want to see is change, right? Does everybody want to see a change? You wouldn't be here if you didn't want to see a change, right? Yeah. So just take what we're talking about and try to think about how you could bring it in for a landing and make application. Because information without application is what? Hallucination. Hallucination. I got some good drugs for that if you want to do that. I missed that decade, I'm sorry. So here's the deal. You don't want to walk out that door the same person you walked in. You're here because you want what? Change. So I'm trying to open up our skull so we could process this and bring this in for a landing. Okay. So for some of us, we need to get a hold of our weight. For some of us, we need to reverse the metabolic dysfunction. And there's a lot of options. I'm going to start with one that's pretty much tried and true, but when I talk about all these things, I talk about the core four. How many of you guys have heard of the Elevation Health core four? Function, fitness, nutrition, education. That's what these workshops are about. Every time you come to another workshop, that's what you're getting. And guess what you're reading with this Harvard research? What are you reading about? Just about. And, so I'm just like, hello. Every time you come back to another workshop, that's what you're getting. When it comes to body mass index, how many states do you think are doing well with their BMI? It looks like one. Colorado, only 20 to 24.9% of the population has a BMI of 30 plus. Only 20 to 25%. The rest of every state in the country has a body mass index over 30% to 35% of the population have a BMI over 30. Is that insane? Yeah. Diabetes is an epidemic. Okay, so when you look at the future as far as the cost of healthcare, the cost of insurance, the cost of everything that goes into this, treating heart disease, treating cancer. Look at all the cases that we have every single year. The cure, right? The race for the cure, the billions of dollars that they spend in fundraising and marketing that goes to these things. And a lot of it is being driven by what? Diabetes. Now, I have a long story that I'm going to try to make short, okay? And there's a point to this. I had a battle yesterday with fire ants. And it was not fun. If I took my shoes off right now, you'd be like, oh. I'm like, yeah, it's gnarly, it's nasty. And I went out there on my patio. I never saw anything like this before. Mounds of sand. Like mounds. I never had this. I've been in my house for 18 years. Mounds of sand everywhere. Like,
Wow.
holy smokes. My pavers, they're going to just sink. My whole patio is going to collapse. So where did all this sand come from? Like mounds of sand. And so I went out to the garage and I got some granules and I start laying it down and they're just scurrying, but like nothing's happening, you know? And I came back and I figured they'd be dead, but they weren't. So, and I'm like, where are these things coming from? I plugged up all the holes, and then there's this table, this white table, that my wife has a plant on. It's a ceramic table about this tall. And I see the ants crawling around the base and kind of crawling up the side, and I roll the table off, and I'm like, oh, that's where they are. Look at that. What? Yeah, maybe they're coming up from under those pavers, and I put some granules down, then I come back a little later, and nothing. They're still going to town. They're winning the war. And I'm like, meanwhile, they're jumping all over my feet. I'm looking specifically to make sure that I don't get bit. And I think these things have wings.
Yeah.
They you could be 10 feet away and they jump on you. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I wasn't anywhere near these things and my feet are covered in them. And I just got a lesson in fire ants and they whooped my butt. And so I came back and like these things they're still winning the war. So I turned that little ceramic thing again and I see more ants. Like it like stirred up the nest. I'm like, what's going on here? Now this is my wife's pot. Like I don't mess around with plants. Like she's got the green thumb. So I don't know anything about this pot. I turn it. So I'm like, let me see what's going on underneath. So I turn the thing over and they're like scurrying about and jumping on me again. And I'm just trying to swat them off my feet while I'm trying to not let this thing tip over and break all over the patio. And I tip it upside down. What do you think I saw inside the pot? All the little white larvae that are being carried out by the troops and shuttled down underground so that they could give birth and push more sand up. I found the nest. I found the cause, the source, and the root. And what did I do? I poured the rest of the bag on it. And what do you think I found? A half hour later, I went in, finished watching the game, I came back out. Oh, gone. They're all dead. So now I just have to clean up the sand and the dead ants. But my point is, I got to the cause, the source, and the root. And the point is that when it comes to diabetes, it's reversible if you get to the cause, the source, and the root. If you just keep treating the effects, you're going to see these little insulin receptors, they're going to beat your butt. And they're going to just shut down on you. And it doesn't matter how many medications that you take, it's never going to reverse. But I'm going to show you today how to get to the cause, the source, and the root. First, you got to find out where the problem is. Body mass index means what? And you know it's supposed to be less than 30, right? Raise your hand if you got that part. But what is body mass index? Well, you have to know what the percentage of your body mass breaks down to. You have fat mass, you got muscle mass, you got water mass, you got visceral fat, the fat that's tucked up under your organs, around your liver, your kidneys, right? You have all these different components, and the total composition of your body, when it's broken down into all this, gives you a good idea of what your body mass index is. Also, your metabolic age. This is really interesting. When you stand on this scale, that's the body composition analysis down there. It gives you a print off, tells you what your metabolic age. Imagine that you're 60, 65 years old and your metabolic age comes up as 90. What does that mean? You have the metabolism of a 90-year-old. It's going that slow. Okay, so what happens when you have a really slow metabolism? Do you lose weight or gain weight? You have more energy or less energy? Yeah. So this is a really handy tool to tell you where you're at with your health and your metabolism. If there's any sort of metabolic dysfunction or diabetes, it's a good tool to at least give you an analysis and let you know not just what your body mass index is, but everything else. So if this is something that is important and you're trying to get a handle on, this is something that might help you. And I'll give you an idea, because when you start with one of those and you continue to track your progress, if you're looking at what you eat, if you want to get your blood sugar under control, your blood pressure, you want to see your cholesterol levels come down, you want to lose body fat versus body weight. It's easy to lose body weight. It's so easy to lose. Anybody can lose weight. All you have to do is starve yourself, right? You can easily drop 5, 10 pounds, but really what you wind up doing is dumping muscle and water. But if you lose fat, would that not be a better idea? How do you target fat instead of muscle and water? The only way to know is to track it with a body composition, and then it's evidence-based because you could see all the muscle and fat and water composition changing in the right direction. Is that making sense? So, this is usually about 40 days for us to see a good, healthy outcome. Within 2 weeks, most of my patients have reversed their diabetes, have gotten off their medication. But I just want to share with you briefly some of the outcomes with that, so you could just hear for yourself.
Hi, my name is Carol Plevin, and I've been on the program for a little over 40 days, and I've lost 31 pounds, and I feel wonderful, without a doubt. Medicines, I've had to lessen on my cholesterol medication, and I just feel great, full of energy, and can't complain about anything. I'm ready for the next thing in life. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joe Berry. I've been on the program for roughly 45 days now. I've lost about 35 pounds. I feel a lot better. My blood pressure has come down. My cholesterol has come down tremendously. The doctor even told me I have to cut back on some cholesterol medicines. My triglycerides that were off the charts before are now within reasonable rates. The program worked great for me. You just got to set your mind to it and you can do it. It's very easy.
Thank you.
So what is it? It's basically a 40-day, very specific program that kind of holds your hand. We do the weigh-ins and the body composition analysis every 10 days. And there's 4 distinct phases as you go through the program so that you reset your metabolism and you correct the metabolic dysfunction. If you have diabetes or high blood pressure or something like that, we work with you to make sure that everything is healing up properly. The bonus is fat loss. The bonus is weight loss. We give you a 15-pound weight loss guarantee. And all the supplements are included, daily manual, journal. You don't have to guess. You turn the page, it tells you, where you need to be, and all the foods. There's no guesswork. So it's a very specific, comprehensive, detailed plan for somebody who needs accountability and support through something like that. So I want to let you know that for those of you who may need this or are interested, that's something that we have right here in the office that would be available for you. And if you are interested in that, please see Deborah. Everybody knows Deborah, right? Everybody sees Deborah. And then you can talk to her, and basically you would start with the testing. And you would do the body composition analysis. They report the findings to you and review with you what the plan of care would be to hit your health goals, whatever they may be. Now, normally it's $99. The event special would allow you to have that for only $27. And again, if you're interested in that, at the end of the program tonight, just talk to Deborah, and she can make an appointment for you. And so again, it's for the body composition analysis. I just want you to see the graphs on the right. So the graphs pretty much, every time you get a weigh-in, it automatically logs in your progress so that you could see the graph moving, and obviously we want to see it moving in the right direction. And that's for the body water percentage, the body fat percentage, your weight. So everything is very meticulous and evidence-based. That's what I like about this. Okay, so what I want to do right now is very quickly take a break, because the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure, right? Everybody stand up, take a load off, turn to your friend on the right, and I had to do this a couple of nights ago to wake everybody up. I had people sleeping in front of me. All right, I want you to put your hands on the person in front of you and do a massage, get the stress out, wake them up, get the blood going, love your neighbor. All right, karate chop, do a karate chop. Good job. All right, you guys are doing great, making good time. All right, turn around and love your other neighbor. Get the stress out.
Relax.
De-stress. We're off to a great start this week, aren't we? All right, karate chop. Oh, karate chiropractic. Good, good, good. You guys are doing great. All right, give yourselves a round of applause. Woohoo! All right, come on up, guys.
Oh, yeah, get it. No, I have to.
I did this in reverse order, didn't I? All right. So this is our dynamic staff. We're missing one. Gina, you're not coming up? Okay. Everybody meet Gina and Maria and Tamara and Deborah, our dynamic staff. Everybody give them a warm round of applause. And they're here to help us recognize some of you guys. And these are for people who, we love to see you doing really well with their care. And for the perfect adjustment attendants, these are for folks who, there are a lot of you guys, but can only recognize a few at a time. But keeping your adjustment schedule perfect. Why is that a big deal? Because when you do, what kind of results you get? Great. The best. Great. And we love to see that. We celebrate when our patients get great results. So we really appreciate that. We love you and appreciate you for doing a great job. When I call out these two names, I'd like you all to stand up, and we're going to come down and put one of these medals on you. I don't see Elvira here. Is she? I don't see her. No.
Elvira?
There?
No, she's not here.
No, she's not here. Okay, she's here in spirit. She's here in spirit. Okay, so please help me recognize these folks, Tracy Alfaro and Joan Morgan. Everybody give them a big round of applause. Good job. All right, good work, guys, good work. And I have one more, and this is for our Elevation Health University Core 4 degree. And it's for 6 or more workshops. And this one is presented to Mr. Bruce Landry. Come on down! My man. I appreciate you, Bruce. All right.
You're the reason I'm here.
Thank you. And you keep me going too, brother. Bruce told his testimonial, oh gosh, a couple of workshops ago. I don't know if you guys remember that. He's doing really well with all his mark. His doctor is just really proud of him too. He's flabbergasted. Yeah.
The doctor doesn't like you.
I was gonna say, you
What's that?
just quite a name on it.
Yeah,
Doctor doesn't like you.
he doesn't like me. How many ants did I kill? Probably in the, I don't know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I'm supposed to be saving lives, not killing ants. Now you get to throw darts at me after you've been to at least 20 workshops, and so Barry has that, and I can handle that. So yeah. All right, so show goes on, and let's talk about how this makes sense. You know, so when you're eating food, like normal food, good food, like you see over here, more or less a paleo diet or a healing diet. You know, you got eggs, you have fatty fish, you got grass-fed meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts. I mean, these are low glycemic index, which means that when you eat these foods, glucose goes up and rises moderately or slowly in your bloodstream. You know, fruits, vegetables, they have fiber. It slows the release of insulin down. The meats and the nuts, these are all fats. Again, you know, the Italians got it right. All the olive oil, that really helps with digestion. It slows the digestive process down. And when that happens, it slows the release of insulin down. What I'm trying to say is that that's a cell up there. And so when glucose goes up, insulin has to go up to take the glucose and shuttle it into the cell. You see those little, those hair-like projections coming off the cell? Can everybody see that? Mm-hmm. Those are insulin receptors. And there's lots of them on the cells. And it's like a lock and key fit. So insulin takes the glucose and brings it into one of those receptors so that the sugar can get into the cell. Everybody got it? That's kind of how it's supposed to work. If you're eating foods by God that grow off a tree or out of the ground, or, you know, it's not been denatured, or, you know, if it's natural food, if it's food by God, it belongs in his body by God, that's usually the effect that you have. Things work normally. So I want you to contrast that with, you know, food by man, or the standard American diet, which is high in what? Carbohydrates. We have pasta, breads, rice, cereal, potatoes. What else? Doritos, Cheetos, Oreos, Chips Ahoy. We have Coca-Cola. Oh, no, we have diet sodas, which you guys know are even worse than regular sodas. If you've been here long enough, you know that. So we have all this stuff. We have all these snacks and things. We think it's not really a big deal, like tortilla chips and stuff like that. But really what happens is glucose goes way up. It's a quick hit. It's a quick spike of glucose. And in order to accommodate that and get that into the cell, you got to have even more insulin produced, right? And then the more insulin that you have produced, then it's trying to get into the cell, like all this sugar all day long. And what happens is these insulin receptors are getting beat and whipped. And a good analogy is like, you ever have, you know, like when your mom and dad would get on you and they'd be yelling at you constantly and stuff. Like if my mom was yelling at me or nagging me, I'd just kind of tune her out, right? I don't know if your kids have ever done that to you. They could just kind of tune you out. My kids don't do that to me.
No.
They do that to my wife, not to me. They don't do that to daddy. No. But really, you know, like when people tune other people out, it's because they're just tired of listening. And then, so when you're insulin resistant or type 2 diabetic, this is exactly what happens from eating sugar all day long. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. You're constantly making insulin and it burns out the insulin receptors. Can everybody see that? The insulin receptors, they just tune out. It's not that they don't exist, they're just down for the count. So, what do they give you more of if you're insulin resistant? More what? More insulin, which is a sure way to perpetuate this problem. Trying to force insulin into a cell that's trying to keep it out so it can heal. So how do you go from here to here? Obviously, this is a cell that's not insulin resistant. That's a normal, healthy cell. That's a person that doesn't have diabetes. Is it possible for the insulin receptors to regenerate on the surface of the cells? What do you guys think? Yes? Are we all in agreement? Yes, it is. Yeah. So how do you do that? Wow. Did you ever hear me say the body doesn't need any help, it just needs no interference? You've heard me say that, right? Body doesn't need any help, it needs no interference. Stop interfering with it. Stop whipping and beating it to death with insulin. And what's the only thing that's provoking the insulin response? Sugar. What we're eating. Yeah. What are you eating? The pizza, the pasta, the cake, the Doritos, whatever it is. Anytime you have an insulin response, you're not only causing insulin resistant diabetes, but you're also causing obesity. You're causing yourself to gain weight because insulin is a hormone. Remember that? Insulin's a hormone. So anytime you provoke an insulin response, you're stopping fat burning and you're kickstarting fat storing. So what's the easiest way to reverse this process, reverse diabetes, and get into fat burning? The answer's right there. The answer's right there. Stop that and start doing what? Start doing that. Start eating a paleo diet or a keto diet. Just take the carbs out of your diet. Now, you don't have to take all the carbs out, but believe it or not, fruits and vegetables have carbohydrates in it. You can live on that very well, but you don't need to get your energy from sugar, by the way. There's a lot of studies that, and they did this with people who had epilepsy, and they did this with laboratory rats that had tumors. All they fed them, they took the sugar completely out of their diet. All they fed them was fats and proteins. That's it, fats and proteins. So you know what happened? The people who had the epilepsy stopped having epilepsy. The lab rats and the people who went through this study, who did this, the ketogenic diet, when the body goes from using sugar as a fuel to ketones as a fuel, it starves cancer out of the body. Okay? So your body and your brain actually work better as far as a source of fuel on fats rather than sugar. Did you know that? Yeah. So we just went down this path because of the USDA. They told us to do this. But that's what's caused all the diabetes. When you stop and look at the food pyramid, who taught you the food pyramid? Those blasted elementary school teachers. Where are they? Where are they? Yeah, there's two of them right there. And this is I wanted to see you jump out of your chair. My ant fight yesterday wasn't enough. I had to go and provoke another one. So this is where we learned it, right? In elementary school, this is what taught us. The 60% of our diet needed to be breads, pastas, rice, potatoes. Now what happened during, when they introduced that in 1997 to 2007, in the 10 years after the USDA recommended that high-carb, low-fat diet, what happened to the number of cases of diabetes?
Oh my God.
It skyrocketed. It doubled. And where did Dr. Whitaker say the number of cases of diabetes are at right now? 28 million. This goes to 2011, only 21 million. That was in 2011. We're at 28 million right now. So it's tripled, and it's going to keep going if people keep eating the way that it's being taught conventionally. Can everybody see how that's a big mistake? The worst thing that we could have done was take the fats out of our diet and have mostly carbohydrates. The worst thing in the world. Yeah.
Is this for type 1 and type 2?
No, type 1 is a different type of disease. I'm referring solely to type 2 diabetes. Everybody got that? Now, as far as this graph, it doesn't represent type 1 diabetes. So this right here, this is the food pyramid. So what would be a good recommendation as far as our approach to nutritional recommendations? Invert it. There you go. And that means that we want to have the majority of our diet fats and what? Proteins, which is more or less a ketogenic diet. Now, you can put in there fruits and vegetables, and then you're good to go. That's everything that you need. And what does that look like? Right there. What do you not see there? Bread. What else? Pasta, rice, potatoes, cereal, croissants, no beer. I hate to say it, alcohol's a killer. It really is. And there are some studies that show, whatever, if you do like a 5-ounce glass of wine every day, it actually has some benefits. The problem is it's sugar, and if you're diabetic and you're trying to reverse that, it's not a good strategy. There's something to be said for moderation and how you want to live your life, but ideally, this is how you get your sugar under control. And I would encourage you guys to read more about this. Go online. Everybody's got a computer nowadays. You just dial in, ketogenic diet or paleo diet. Paleo is probably easier, give you more options. And last month we had cancer prevention. Ketogenic diet literally stops that dead in its tracks. But a paleo diet is friendly for the vast majority of people in this room and population-wise. So I'd recommend looking more into that. And I had the slide up a couple of months ago in the Heart Smart workshop, if you were here, just to kind of make things practical. For breakfast, what do you usually have for breakfast? Do you have oatmeal? Do you have grits? Do you have bagels? Do you have croissants? What does that do to your blood sugar? Cereal, Cheerios, Special K, all those healthy cereals, what is that doing to your blood sugar? It's what? Spiking it. It doesn't matter how many wholesome commercials, supposedly heart-friendly commercials that you watch with these cereals, it's just clever marketing. In the end, you know what it's going to do to your blood sugar. And so you have to get away from that. If you want to get serious about your health, you need to do other options. And what that would look like is low sugar fruits for breakfast: berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries. Okay, so we got that. Low sugar fruits, Granny Smith apples, not high sugar fruits. I'm not talking about mangoes and bananas and pineapples and cherries. The high sugar fruits, right? So the low sugar fruits is the best options for you for breakfast, because if you keep your blood sugar under control for the start of the day, how's your energy going to look for the rest of the day? Remember, you win the morning, you win the what? The day, yeah. Get it under control. Also, you'll stay in fat burning, because your metabolism is always kicking first thing out of bed on an empty stomach, and your hormones too, by the way. Your hormones. You got estrogen, you have testosterone, you have all this body chemistry that you wind up throwing out of whack if you throw your insulin out of control. So this is the smartest part of your day that you need to apply, the brain power to this. So you got your berries, and then you have your almond butter. Why almond butter, or peanut butter, or just why do you have to have good fat in there? Why is the good fat important? For the brain. Yep, for the brain. It's going to be, what you're going to learn here in just a little while is that people with high blood glucose, people with high A1Cs, have the highest risk for dementia, right? Cognitive decline, and Alzheimer's disease. All right, but the people who have the highest amounts of good fat in their diet can reduce that by nearly half. So you have to have more of these good fats, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it'll put your body in fat burning, it'll keep you from getting hungry, making bad decisions with your nutrition. And the shake is something that's super easy, super simple, and it's a great option. I do this in the morning. This is my breakfast. I take 2 scoops, put it in there in almond milk or coconut milk, and I mix it up, and it's got 26 grams of protein in it, 15 grams of carbohydrates, but only 5 grams of sugar, and it's got 9 grams of fat. It's like a meal replacement. It's a meal in and of itself. And then on top of it, I'll have my berries and I'll have my almond butter. And I have that to refuel after I work out. I work out on an empty stomach, and then I refuel with that. And that's my breakfast. And I know a lot of you in the room do that. And just by doing that alone, it's a multivitamin, it's a low-level detox. Just by that alone, I've watched you lose, some of you, 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds, just because you're actually reversing the metabolic dysfunction that you had. So I wanted to introduce you to that option. That's important. And then for lunch, what do you see for lunch? Yeah, do you see Subway sandwiches? Do you see bread? See spaghetti and meatballs? What do you see? You see salad, yeah. You need roughage, you need greens. This is going to give you energy. What else do you see? Olive oil, lots of olive oil. You got your good fat. You have your good fat with salmon, and you have your Greek salad, lots of olives on there. And what about for dinner? What do you see for dinner? What's that? Proteins? How about some rack of lamb chops, grass fed? You could do that. You could do a piece of chicken. You could do a piece of flounder or salmon. It doesn't matter. But what else goes for dinner? What else do you have that protein with? Vegetables. Yeah, nothing else. Just the vegetables. Now, if you're really good, most of the week, and you want to have some rice, no harm done. So for most of us, there's going to be a cheat day in there. But if you're on that stringent program where you're trying to reverse diabetes or lose 30 pounds in 40 days, different story. But for most of us, these are easy options. Can everybody see that? Yeah. But the more of that little rice thing there that you do, if that goes from 1 day to 2 days a week to 3 days a week, for some of us it becomes more than half the week. But you have all this other good stuff, but you're having too many carbohydrates, it starts to build up on you again. That's what happens. That's called blurring the edges. You ever hear of blurring the edges? Yeah. That's how we all get off track. We blur our edges. And what do you need to do when you start blurring your edges? Get what? Get back on track. Get back on track. Who blurs their edges? Everybody does. We all get off track. You just got to find that groove and, draw the line and get back on track. Menopause. What is this? It's not menopause, it's menopause. What does that mean? Yeah, the testosterone shots, the testosterone clinics, it's called disease mongering. They've created a disease called erectile dysfunction, which largely they're finding now with a lot of the studies has to do with the amount of sugar in a man's diet. In the study, they gave 42 men who had normal blood sugar. There was 23 men who had pre-diabetic levels of blood sugar and 9 with full-blown diabetes. They gave them a sugary solution, each of them. And then they tested their testosterone right after. How do you think the sugar affected it? Regardless of whether they had diabetes or not, the testosterone levels dropped as much as how much? 25% immediately after they had sugar. How about that? That's interesting, isn't it? Wow. So you have one disease causing another, and somebody's making money off of that, but it's not correcting the cause, right? All right, Cancer Loves Sugar, Journal of the American Medical Association, quite a while ago. What they find with blood sugar levels? 30% more likely to develop and die from cancer than those without diabetes. We talked about the risks before. If you have diabetes or high sugar levels, significantly increasing your risk for cancer, because what does cancer love? Sugar, yeah. Alzheimer's disease, how does this work? I've read so many studies where endocrinologists are now referring to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes. Type 3 diabetes. Why is that? Because all the studies are pointing to the fact that the people who run the high blood sugar levels for the longest time, they eventually develop Alzheimer's disease. They're the ones that have cognitive decline, then dementia, and then full-blown Alzheimer's. It's a pattern, and it's very predictable. And anybody in healthcare who looks at this will show you that. They followed almost 5,200 individuals for over a decade. They found that the higher an individual's blood sugar level, the faster their rate of cognitive decline. Yeah. And even mild elevation of blood sugar, it still had an associated risk for dementia. One of the most striking studies on carbs and brain health revealed that high carb diets increase your risk of dementia by 89%. Yeah. While high fat diets lower it by 44%. How important is that fat we talked about? Yeah. They took it out all those years ago. It's time we put it back in. Really, really important, guys. Everybody wants to. You've seen. I mean, how many people have seen the trends of how many people are being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease? It's just getting worse and worse. And the statistics show it too. It's basically it's 1 out of 9 people over the age of 65 and 1 out of 2 over the age of 85. Coming soon to a home near you if you continue on that trend or you allow your loved ones to continue on that trend. So it's no joke. It's time we started dialing back on these things before it hits and we don't have any more options left. So add more good what? Fat. More fats. Are you starting to have more of this in your diet since you've been coming to the workshops? Yeah, you snack on the almonds, snack on the walnuts. This is all good for your brain, guys. It's good for your brain. It's good for fat burning. It helps control your blood sugar. What else do you see up there? Coconut oil and butter. How do you get creative with coconut oil and butter? I mean, if you can't, just take the coconut oil and shoot it down the hatch. Take a tablespoon. Or you could do what I did today. Put it in my coffee. So you take a tablespoon of the coconut oil. You can actually put it in your coffee. You can put butter in your coffee too. That works just as well. Another thing that you could do is just be deliberate as far as preparing your foods with it. You can fry with coconut oil. Did you know that? Fry. You can fry at high heat. Now you can't fry high heat with olive oil. You don't want to do that. You want to use coconut oil. And you can do a low heat stir fry with butter also. I always put butter. I had a New York strip on Saturday, and I put butter. I always ask the waitress, bring me some extra butter. I always put it on my steak. Lots of butter. Fat burning and good for the what? Good for the brain, yeah. So all of these things, a good review, but it's good for you to take stock because my wish and my prayer is that this is really kind of etched in your brain. When you're going to the grocery store and you're shopping, you're grabbing for this stuff. And you want to stock it, you want to keep it on your counter. You should see avocados there, you should see almonds, you should see walnuts. You should be taking this stuff to work with you so you don't get in trouble. You're going to feel so much better when you're eating this all the time. And you're going to have momentum, and it's going to be easier to stay well. And it's easier to keep it in motion when you do that. All right, so this is the smoothie that I was talking about. You can either use the Metaclear or the Ultraplex Complete Clean. It's just a matter of preference. Just slightly different taste. The Complete Clean has 3 times the amount of the detox in it. It's got a little bit more protein, and it's got a little bit more in terms of carbohydrates. So as far as a real complete meal replacement, that's the Complete Clean. The Metaclear has a similar profile in terms of multivitamin spectrum and detox. Only difference is it has far fewer carbohydrates, a little bit less protein. That's it. Just maybe taste a little bit different. So it's up to you guys. It's there for you. I would strongly recommend using it, trying it as a breakfast option. It's a no-brainer. It saves you time and it saves you money. And it's obviously it's going to be very healthful for you, most importantly. That's all I'm going to say about that. So that's the profile. You could read it. You could take a look at it. And that's it. A couple more things that will support you. And these are supplements that work, as I say, synergistically. They work together. They have the best outcome when they're taken together. And when I went over to Thorne and I studied with the nutraceutical doctors on site, I went through and I learned about the processes they use to deliver these supplements to the cells. So when we recommend Thorne supplements, the main reason why is because of something called, not just purity, which you guys know, obviously. You get what you pay for. Anybody can slap a label on a bottle these days when you go to GNC or you buy stuff online. Just because you're taking a vitamin, it doesn't mean that it's actually getting into the cell. You guys know that, right? Yeah. And so purity is a huge factor when you're getting supplements. And the other thing is what's called bioavailability. Bioavailability is how is it delivered to the cell? What's the process that they use to actually get it into the cell? And that's what Thorne prides themselves on, purity and bioavailability, which means that whatever's going into your mouth is going into the cells. So again, I spent quite a bit of time there. This was a few years ago. I flew over and I stayed in there. I went through the laboratory process. I saw their loading docks. I saw how they test for purity, for quality. And these are some of the supplements that they recommended for these particular conditions. And specifically for the events that we do here. R-lipoic acid, one of them, because it specifically supports liver and pancreas health. And again, it's going to be the most bioavailable form of this particular supplement that you can actually get in your body. And diagonal helps maintain what? Normal blood sugar levels, yeah. And with the blood vessels, the eyes, the kidneys, these are all things that are affected in a diabetic patient. So that's what this supplement supports. And lastly, berberine, which studies hands down have shown are just as, if not more effective than metformin. So I have a lot of patients that ask me if they could just take this instead of the metformin. I'm not going to tell you to stop taking your medications. Right? That's not my place. I didn't put you on them. I'm not going to take them off. But I will tell you this, that if that's your goal and you do everything that we recommend that you do, you need to check your blood sugar regularly. Seriously, if you implement this stuff or you go on a 40-day program with this stuff, you need to check if you're really serious about your health and you're determined to beat this thing, you need to check your blood sugar levels every day because it will drop that fast. And if you're taking metformin or any other medication while your body is healing and it's functioning the way it should, any healthy person that takes a medication for a sick person does what? gets worse. Yeah, so we have to monitor that very carefully. So I don't want you guys to be under the impression here, take these supplements instead of your medication. You guys know that, right? You're smarter than that. But what I will tell you is it will help you get your blood sugar under control if you're starting to implement a lot of these other nutritional recommendations. Fair enough? Okay, and that does work. So if you get all three of those together, we give you a 20% discount. That's the supplement suite. We only discount the supplements at the workshops. I was, again, referring to my joke earlier. You guys know we do that. It's the only time we ever discount. And again, to incentivize you to make application with what you're learning. The other thing is, if you haven't done this yet, the 5-star Google review rating, that can get you additional savings. And why are we shamelessly bribing you for that? Because who reads reviews? Anybody in the room read reviews? Yeah. I buy things based on reviews. Just bought a generator yesterday. 4.5 stars. I didn't find any with 5 stars. I will only buy stuff that has 4.5 or 5 stars. People will go places that are big on reviews. Right, Tracy? So somebody sitting here right now who found our office, maybe because of some of the reviews that some of you guys in this room wrote, or other people who have been to our workshops. So why am I asking you to do this? Because are there not people out there that are in pain, that are hurting, that are suffering? And they're looking for an answer, right? And all it takes is somebody to generously write something encouraging, and it tips their life into the balance of change forever. That's why that's important. It's not about us or how good we look. It's about the people out there that need help and guiding them into a place that can give them the core 4, right? How many places in the community do you know where they teach about function, fitness, nutrition, education, give you a detailed plan to actually succeed with your health? Is that easy to find? No. So if you write a 5-star review, then we give you 25% off anything. So go ahead and do that. Take advantage of that. Take a snapshot, show them up front, and we would love to get your feedback with that. Okay, last question. What is health? Oh, you do have a question. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's wait till the end. Let's wait till the end. If you have a question, you can come up and ask me. So we're almost done. Doing good on time. So last thing I want to cover, what is health? How do you know if you're healthy or not? Usually by how you what? Usually by how you feel. So most people would just say, gauge their health. Okay, I'm good. I'm healthy. I don't have any symptoms. I'm fine. Raise your hand if you ever heard of somebody who felt fine and they dropped out of a heart attack. They felt fine and they got diagnosed with cancer like a month or 2 later. Happens all the time, doesn't it? So is that really the definition of health? If you look up the definition of health in the dictionary, what you're going to find is nothing that has to do anything with how you feel. The definition of health, as it's stated with the World Health Organization, stated complete physical, mental, and social well-being. And what does that say? Not merely an absence of disease or infirmity. Just because you feel good, it doesn't mean that you don't have a sickness or disease. What's the operative definition of health? When your body is what? Functioning properly. Functioning properly. So the question becomes, is your body functioning properly? How do you know that? What controls function in the body? Everybody should know the answer to this. What makes your heart work? What makes your lungs work? What makes your stomach digest food? What makes your pancreas regulate blood sugar? Where does all that come from? Does it happen by chance? No, it is by divine design. That's the first thing to form in the human body, the brain and the spinal cord and all the nerves, because that's what controls all function. And if that's working right, then your body can regulate blood sugar properly. If it's working right, then your heart can pump blood properly. If it's working right, your body can fight off cancer properly. And now, from there, if that's working right, what does that do to your risk of sickness and disease? Increase or decrease? Decrease significantly. So the problem is, if that's working all right, then more than likely you don't have any problems as you go through life. But is there something that can interfere with that communication of the nerves? You guys know that? It's called subluxation. What's subluxation? How do you explain this to somebody? It's like a subway station? It's a pinched nerve. Yeah, so you say, hey, you should go see my chiropractor. I don't have a pinched nerve. My back doesn't hurt. I wasn't in a car accident. How does somebody understand that? Is that the only time you go and have your spine checked, when you have a pinched nerve? No. Can you feel a pinched nerve? Only 6% of those nerves feel pain. What percent? 6%. What if this nerve is pinched, shutting off vital nerve supply to your pancreas? Do you think that's possible to cause diabetes? What if that nerve is being pinched off going to your intestines? Do you think that could cause constipation? If that's the very source of what controls life and health and healing, and you choke that off painlessly and silently, do you see how disease can develop? There was a study done called the Windsor Studies. It was an autopsy of 212 cadavers. And they looked at all the people and all the diseases they died from, and then they looked at the spine and where the nerves branched off. What percentage of the spine of the time do you think they saw damage at the level where the nerve branched off and went to the diseased organ? 100% of the time. What does that tell us? Your spine is like a circuit breaker. You could go to this doctor and get this medication for this disease, or that doctor, take that medication for that disease. You go to all these different doctors, they check all these things, and what's the one thing that they never check? Your spine. I'll give you a perfect example. A lady came in and she had pain in her back, and she was bent over like this, and she's like, "Can you crack my back? My back hurts." I'm like, "Oh, well, probably be a good idea to take an x-ray, because I don't know what you got going on." And that's what I saw in the x-ray. So I figured the nerve was pinched. Come and lay down. Laid her on the table, and I gave her an adjustment. And as soon as she got up off the table, she went from standing like this to standing like this. She's standing straight up. When she stood up, I noticed she had an insulin pump on. So I asked her, I said, "Georgia, you're diabetic?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "How come you didn't tell me?" She's like, "You didn't ask." I said, "Well." She's got an insulin pump. I look in her file, it's 40 years she's been diabetic. So she leaves, and about an hour later, somebody runs in off the street. Call an ambulance. A lady walked out of your office an hour ago. She's passed out in her car. I think she's your patient. So I ran out there, and there's Georgia. She's slumped over the steering wheel. Ran back in and called the ambulance. And then I remember, wait, she's diabetic. I wonder if it has something to do with her blood sugar. So I brought her some juice, put it on her lips. What happens? Her eyes roll from the back of her head. She starts regaining consciousness. Ambulance pulls up, takes her away. And I'm watching her drive away, and I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I mean, she stood up straight. I gave her a good adjustment. She walked out of here looking good, and I put her in the hospital. What did I do wrong? I don't get it. So I didn't sleep that much that night. I walk in the office the next day, and look who walks in. Georgia. She walks through the front door. She looks 20 years younger. She's smiling, and I'm like she's back from the dead. You know, it's like she looks 20 years. She don't even look the same. She walks over to me, puts her arms around, give me this big hug. She says, "I don't know what you did yesterday. I haven't slept this good and felt this good in 40 years. Can I have another adjustment?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You just got out of the hospital." She's like, I don't know what you did. She's like, "I haven't felt this good in so long." So I gave her an adjustment, and then I showed her. I'm like, "Georgia, I thought I did something wrong, but I think I did something right. That nerve that was being pinched causing your back pain is the same nerve going to the pancreas." And I said, "I just opened up that nerve channel. I think that thing's been there for decades. I just opened up that nerve channel, and I think your pancreas started functioning, making insulin, but your pump was on, so you got too much." She's like, "Well, makes sense to me. You gonna adjust me or what?" And I'm like, so I was adjusting her as the weeks go on. She comes back and tells me, "No, my endocrinologist reduced my insulin requirements. I went from 8 units to 5 units. I'm like, "Good." Another couple weeks goes by. She's like, "Yeah, my endocrinologist reduced my insulin requirements even more. I'm down to 3 units. Good." So another couple of weeks goes by. She's like, "Boy, he's got me eligible. My endocrinologist has me eligible for a special study. I'm at 0.8 units now. He's getting ready to take me off of insulin. He's never had a 67-year-old brittle diabetic go off of an insulin pump. He wants to know what your clinical protocol is." I said, "I don't think he wants to hear what I have to say. Because I'll tell him I move the bone and God does the healing. And I didn't do anything else. All I did was find and remove the interference to what? What was stopping her body from working the way it was designed to work in the first place." Now, if she would have came in and I would have adjusted her once, right? Or I didn't adjust her at all, and I just gave her berberine and R-lipoic acid. Is any of those supplements gonna correct the cause of her blood sugar disorder? No. I didn't cure her diabetes. Her body healed itself from the inside out. What happens when you take these supplements and you put them in a dead person? Nothing. Why? Do supplements heal you? No. Only life heals you. The power of that, when God breathes life into you as a living being, that doesn't leak out. It doesn't leave you, right? It uses your nervous system to coordinate health and healing and keep you alive, right? But when you've got pressure on a nerve and that's the life channel, if something's choking off life to your body, what is it slowly doing to you? Killing you, silently, painlessly. And that's the deadly nature of subluxation. It destroys people's lives and it causes sickness and disease over time. And that's why people come into our office and have their spine checked on a regular basis. Do you want those nerve channels open or closed? Yeah. Does it matter if you have diabetes or not? Even if you don't have diabetes, do you want those nerve channels open or closed? With any disease, with anything, it would only make sense for you to be at 100% of your God-given potential to have them open, right? That's the reason why somebody should have their spine checked. So we see people, get over all types of diseases, but I wanted to share that one story with you because, it occurred to me, like, people come here and they're like, hey, can I take this supplement for my blood pressure? Can I take this supplement for my diabetes? Can I take this supplement for that? If you're a guest here and you've never had your spine checked, and you walk out of here with supplements and you never have your spine checked, you're wasting your time and your money. I'm not here to sell you supplements. I'm here to sell you on you, so you could be all that God created you to be. Supplements don't heal. Healing happens from the inside out. Now, if your nerve channels are clear and you're getting your spine checked on a regular basis and you're eating good and exercising and taking supplements, yeah, that's a good strategy. But the only way, how do you know if those nerve channels are open or closed? By what? By having it checked, right? How about your family members? How about your kids? How about your husband? So many of you guys are patients here. What about your family members? Do you ever stop and wonder, hey, I wonder if my husband's subluxated, or I wonder if my kids are subluxated. I wonder if they're building disease. Silently. Do you know for a fact that they don't have nerve supply being choked off to vital organs and tissues just because they feel it? Do you have any idea? You don't. What's the only way to know? Have a checkup. Yeah. So that's it. Spine is like a circuit breaker. The power's either on or it's off. People come in, they have headaches, nervousness, sinus trouble, allergies, constipation, painful irregular periods, whatever symptom there is. I don't chase the symptom. I look to the cause, the source, and the root, like an electrician, right, Barry? We go to the power panel before we start changing light bulbs. Only makes sense. And how do you do that? In our office, what we use is thermography and x-rays. We don't guess, we test. When a new patient comes in the office, or even an existing patient, like we recheck. We always go, hey, I want everybody to feel good, but without doing any guesswork, we use thermography. And if we do thermography and we see all this red and orange and the scan is all whacked out, going off the charts, is that good or bad? It could be better. Yeah, it could be better, right? So, but what do? We look at the area that's affected and say, okay, where do those nerves go? Now, if it's a new patient and somebody's got lower back pain or they've got they got thyroid issues or headaches, we'll look at that area where those nerves go. And more often than not, that does trace back to the health problems that they have. That's what a normal scan looks like, but closer to that. More close to the midline, stable. But if you're not having any symptoms and you have a scan like that, is that good or bad? We say it's bad, but you know what? If you catch it early enough, it's good because you can prevent it. I've seen a lot of those cases where people come in and they just get checked preventatively, and they don't know. They're tied up to the train tracks, just a sitting duck. And the worst possible case is you wind up in a crisis and you're stuck there in a hospital and you have no options. And something like this very easily prevents that. And then x-rays also. So when we line up with the x-rays with the scans, then we have an evidence-based approach to the status, the true health status of an individual. So why am I saying this? Well, if you're not currently under my care, if you're a guest in our office tonight, on behalf of the person who invited you in, because normally the consultation, the examination, the x-rays, the scans, all that, about $300 worth of service. On behalf of the person that brought you in, for the event tonight, we do that for only $47. And if you would like to do that, we have set aside, because usually there's a waiting list to have an evaluation with me. We've set aside special times. Deborah, can you raise your hand over there? For the guests tonight, if you'd like to take advantage of this, see Deborah. Now, if you're not interested, I love you just the same. I'm not here to waste time, not here to try to make a patient out of you. But if you're serious about your health, and everything I said makes sense, I strongly recommend that you make an appointment, because you'll get more information than you bargained for. It will be an enlightening in terms of what you will learn about your health. And so Deborah has the schedule book. That $47 includes everything, but we donate 100% of that to our mission to Haiti. The village in Haiti, which was destroyed by the earthquake, we've managed to help rebuild many of those structures, the school, church, feed and clothe the kids. So 100% of your donation goes all to them. Also, if you have family members who you know and love and care about, maybe even coworkers, if you would like to purchase a voucher for them, you're welcome to do that as well. It's one of the most valuable things an individual can do for their health, whether it be as a preventative approach or a non-medical approach. So we always do that. And then one last thing: make your appointment for the follow-up testing. And so whether it's the 40-day program, the weight loss program, if you want to get weighed in and have that BMI consultation with Deborah, she can do that for you. And also for having your spine checked. Again, it's not an open invitation that goes on forever. There's specific appointments that have been set aside. So the offer ends, it's only good for tonight. So if you want to do it tonight. And then also make sure, we have limited quantities, limited supplies of the supplements that we talked about. And then make sure that you dial in your calendar for next month's event. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming tonight. I love and appreciate you. God bless.